Picking a printer seems simple, right? But believe it or not, it's a decision that can secretly cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So today, we're going to break down the big battle, inkjet versus laser, to see how a little bit of knowledge can have a huge impact on your wallet and, your workflow.
Okay, let's dive right in. Because choosing the wrong technology isn't just a little inconvenience. It can be a seriously costly mistake. We're talking the difference between spending just pennies or a small fortune on every single page you print out.
So in one corner, we've got the reigning champion of color and photography, liquid ink technology. This is all about precision, vibrancy, and creating those beautiful, detailed images.
And in the other corner, we have the challenger, known for its sheer speed, its sharpness, and its endurance. Powdered toner. This is the workhorse, the technology built for efficiency and that crisp, professional-looking text.
So what's the real difference between these two contenders? Let's break down how they work, what they're best at, and maybe most importantly, which one is the right champion for you.
To really get it, you've got to look under the hood. The fundamental science behind how each of these printers puts an image on paper, well, that drives everything else, from speed and quality right down to the final cost.
Okay, so think of an inkjet as a microscopic painter. Its print head just zips across the page, firing thousands of tiny little ink droplets through nozzles to create your image. Now, this method is fantastic for blending colors really smoothly, which is exactly why inkjets are the absolute masters of photo printing.
A laser printer, on the other hand, is more like a high-speed scribe, and it uses this really fascinating process. It uses a laser to draw an electrostatic blueprint of your page onto a drum, which then picks up powdered ink, we call it toner, and transfers it to the paper before fusing it on with heat. And this whole complex process, it happens in a flash. First, a drum gets a static charge. Then, the laser writes the image on it by neutralizing that charge in specific spots. The powdered toner is then attracted to those discharged areas, and finally, heat and pressure permanently fuse that toner to the page. And that's why the paper always comes out warm. Ever notice that?
So how does all this techie stuff affect the things you actually care about? Let's get to the main event and look at the three big ones: the quality of the print, the speed, and of course, the cost. All right, in the first round, quality, we've got a split decision. For vibrant photos and graphics with those smooth color transitions, the inkjet is the clear winner, no doubt. But for professional-looking documents with razor-sharp, totally smudge-proof text, laser printers are the undisputed champions.
But when it comes to speed, oh boy, there is no contest. A typical inkjet might slowly chug out, 8 to 15 pages per minute. A laser printer, though, can churn out 20, 30, even 40 or more pages in that same time. If you're printing multi-page reports, that difference is it's huge.
Now, let's talk about the price tag. Looking at that upfront cost, inkjets seem like the obvious budget choice, right? You can walk out of a store with one for less than $50. Lasers, with all their complex tech, they start at a higher price point. But, and this is a big but, this is where the story gets really interesting.
And here it is. This is the hidden trap. The real cost isn't the printer, it's the cost per page. That cheap inkjet uses these expensive, low-capacity cartridges, and it can cost you 15 to 20 cents or even more for a single color page. Meanwhile, a laser printer's efficient toner brings that cost way down to just a few cents.
For years, this crazy high cost per page was the inkjet's biggest weakness. It was the hidden trap of that low initial price. But then, a game-changing innovation appeared that just completely shook up the entire market.
Meet the ink tank printer. Instead of those pricey little cartridges, these machines have large, refillable tanks that you fill up from inexpensive bottles of ink. This simple change completely revolutionizes the game, giving you that brilliant inkjet photo quality with running costs that can be even cheaper than a laser. It's kind of the best of both worlds.
So let's just summarize the trade-offs here. See, there's no single best printer. Lasers absolutely dominate for sharp text and speed. Inkjets are the undisputed champions for photos. And on cost, it's really a battle between the low initial price of a cartridge inkjet versus the low long-term cost of either a laser or one of those new ink tank models.
Okay, so beyond the print quality and the cost, what's it actually like to live with one of these machines? Let's talk about the practical, day-to-day experience of having one in your home or office.
Well, inkjets are generally smaller and quieter, which makes them a much better fit for tight spaces.
Lasers? They're bigger, louder workhorses. And here's a critical point, especially for people who don't print that often. An inkjet's nozzles can actually clog up with dried ink if you don't use it. A laser, with its dry toner, can sit there for months and still work perfectly the first time you turn it on.
So, with all this information swirling around, how do you actually pick your winner? Well, it all comes down to understanding what kind of user you are. This decision-making framework makes it pretty simple. If you're a student just printing out essays, a cheap-to-run black and white laser is perfect. A photographer, it has to be a photo inkjet, no question. For a family doing a mix of homework and vacation photos, an ink tank model really offers the best of both worlds. And for businesses, a laser speed and professionalism is usually the right call. Ultimately, it all boils down to this one question. Is your printer a tool for producing functional documents quickly and cheaply? That's a laser. Or is it a device for capturing colorful, vibrant memories and creative projects? Well, that's an inkjet. Answering that, that's the real key to choosing the perfect printer for you.